Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you all again. Good to see you, good to see you. So, yeah, I've just been making a bunch of changes to the game to address your feedback and got lots of good changes. The couple most interesting things that I did last night is I reworked the map generation a little bit to make the map, I think, more compelling overall. And I'll get into all the changes that were made there. And I also gave characters, each character combat board, a unique starting size. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm just kind of... Where did this come from? Oh, I remember now. Why do I have this here? I'm going to delete this. Anyway, I will go over all the changes that I made there. But first, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for playtesting now, so you can head over to the Steam page, click this request access button. The playtest is only available until Monday morning, so basically 48 hours left to try the playtest before it will be shut down and all of the access will be revoked, and then you'll have to wait until the next playtest or the demo, whichever one comes first. But yeah, give it a try if you haven't yet. Wishlist the game. Let me know what you think in the Discord server. I'd appreciate that. You can also support me on Patreon. If you subscribe to this top tier for at least 1 month, I'm going to send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, so you will not need to buy it on Steam. And you will also have your name listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. And I also have my Udemy courses available for sale. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So if that's been something you've been wanting to learn, definitely check those out. Those are a great way to help me, like I said, and it's a great way to learn Godot. Okay, hello Clickertail, welcome. Good to see you. Earlier Bird catches the worm. Welcome back, good to see you, Yito. RN Genesis, good Saturday to you. Hello Bastos Games. I think I'm not follow all the concepts of programming you do here, but I'd like to thank you for the tips I watched on pixel art and Godot programming. I just started, but the tips were gold. Oh yeah, you're welcome. You are welcome. Glad to help. Glad to help. Yeah, so let me show you what we got here. So project settings. I mean, all the characters have been revealed now, so I don't think I need to be super secretive about it anymore. So let's go to the character select screen. So a couple of changes that I made. One, like I said, the characters all have unique starting board sizes. So let me back up a little bit. The main thing that I was trying to address last night is that board size increases are too powerful. And it's not that there's necessarily a problem with them being powerful. It's that whenever a board size increase is available on the map, that becomes like the automatic destination. Like it's so powerful compared to the rest of the nodes that it doesn't really present a real choice. And the flip side of that is that it can feel bad during a run if you don't encounter one of those, because they get randomly placed throughout the map and you may miss one or, you know, whatever. So the problem is those things are too attractive as destinations, and it feels really bad when you miss one. It's not like, it doesn't feel like, ah, shoot, I missed that one. Oh, well, you know, like you might feel when you miss an artifact or something. It actually feels like like you've missed a big power spike, right? So what I've been doing is I removed the board size increase from the bosses, and I also removed the random board size increase nodes from the map. Now there are board size increase nodes at the midway point of every region. So you're guaranteed 3 board size increases during the run. And we'll have to see if that's enough. But you're guaranteed 3 board size increases at predictable intervals. And what I've done is I've changed the starting board sizes for various characters as an extra lever I can pull to balance them. So the Necromancer starts with a 3x3 board, just very standard. Brittle Bones here has a 5x3 board. So he's got a much larger starting board and therefore a much higher board size potential, but he starts with 1 health. So that's kind of counterbalancing that. The Priestess starts with a very tall board and the Courier starts with a wide board. So these are obviously not final. I have to, play around with that a little bit, but yeah, so that's kind of the idea here. And then I also made it so that your starting cards just start on your combat board for you. But as you can see here, we've got the increased board sizes. So what happens is the map will fan out and then it will narrow down in the middle. And there are 3 board size increases here that are guaranteed. Like there's no way to progress towards the stronghold without hitting one of these board size increases. And then you'll hit the boss, and then you'll go up to this region. And again, there's the other board size increase there midway through that region. Then you hit the boss, and then here's your final board size increase there. And then the last boss. So the idea here is kind of twofold. One, this is going to prevent power spikes where you get a bunch of board size increases early and then you just stuff your board with cards. So the more predictable board size increase cadence, I think, is going to hopefully nudge players more in the direction of optimizing their board placements while still offering like a pressure relief valve where it's like, okay, yes, I'm getting a little bit more board space now so I can finally fit that larger card I've been saving or whatever. But, you're going to be stuck with that board size that you have for basically an entire region, or the length of an entire region. So it's going to hopefully force players to really think about their synergies and packing as much onto their existing board as possible, while still offering those opportunities to, get the board a little bit bigger. The board size increases from the bosses are gone, like I said. So there's not going to be a board size increase after this boss fight. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I also made some just better, some improvements to the map generally. So I reduced or basically removed any instances where there were near horizontal edges. So that was a comment that I got a lot on the playtest, which is that it's hard to tell sometimes what the next node in the path is. So you can notice now these roads are much more angled, generally speaking. It's pretty easy to tell which direction the paths are going. So yeah, and then what else did I do? I removed a bunch of non-choice situations. So what I mean by that is that previously the map, let me grab a screenshot of this here. So what I mean by that is previously the map could generate, edges like this, where you've got a road connecting one node to another, but then there's this third node over here, so it's like a triangle. And that was a non-choice situation, right? Because you always want to just go ahead and take, for example, the enchant and then the booster. There would be no reason to skip the enchant. At the bare minimum, you're going to want to go to the enchant to skip it to get the blood, right? So what I did is I also updated the map generation to remove all of these non-choice situations. So now everywhere where you make a choice, it's an actual choice. Every time you choose to move, wherever there's a branching path, you are going to be sacrificing something. So here, if I land at this max health increase, now I have a choice to make, right? I'm either going to have to take the reagent or I'm going to have to take the item upgrade. I have to sacrifice one of those, right? I can't have both. And that's true of everywhere where there's a branching path, right? So here, right? Obviously, I think the obvious choice here is to take the artifact and go to that combat, but let's see if we could find another interesting choice. Yeah, here's an interesting choice. So booster or health upgrade, right? They both end up going into a combat and ultimately culminating in this booster. So the only difference between these two paths is, do I want 2 boosters or do I want a max health increase in a booster, right? This one here, max health increase, do I want a resurrection stone or do I want the booster? So yeah, I think that the map is just generally very improved. This is kind of a weird situation here. I might want to address that, but we'll figure that out later. So anyway, oh, here's an interesting one. This is a good one. Enchant, and then do I take the shop or do I take the resurrection altar? So anyway, I think the map is feeling a lot better now. I think I've addressed a lot of the problems from the playtest, and you know, I still need to playtest the board size changes a bunch, but so far it's feeling pretty good. And you know, I can always add more opportunities for board size increases later on. So for instance, for like the higher difficulty tiers, if I'm going to add like elite fights, an elite fight could offer a board size increase, right? So anyway, that's what I've got going on. And yeah. Hello, David Martinez, Leon Rune, welcome. Good to see you. Hello, Junie, welcome back. What's the best way to organize the directories that contain the game files? It's going to sound like a little bit of a flippant answer, but the best way to organize it is the way that makes it most productive for you. So there's not really a right or wrong way or a best way. It's just what makes sense to you. The main thing is that you want to be very consistent. You want to do your organization consistently, because again, the organization of the project serves your ability to work on it. So use whatever organization system makes it easiest to work with is basically the answer. Hello. Are you planning on console launch? This game would be a while to play on my Switch. The art is so good. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's not planned right now. It's going to depend on how well Alchemy Mortis does on the desktop platforms, but yeah. How do you want a player to feel during a run? Like, what would be the primary emotion besides fun during gameplay? Primary emotion? I mean, I don't know if it's an emotion. What I want the player to feel like is that the decisions that they're making with respect to their alchemy and with respect to their build are causing them to like barely scrape by, right? Like, I want the player to feel like, oh, if I hadn't had done that alchemy, or if I hadn't have visited that node, I would have died right there, but I didn't. So I want the player to feel smart, right? I want the player to feel like the decisions that they made directly led to the outcomes they got. That's the kind of thing that I want to cultivate. So like when you make a decision, when you do an alchemy, when you come up with a synergy, I want that to be rewarded in such a way that it makes it feel like if I hadn't have done that, I would have lost right there. Or if I hadn't had done that, this artifact that just showed up for me would have been useless, right? So like, that's the kind of feeling that I want to cultivate. And that's kind of like a smoke and mirrors thing, because there's like so many opportunities to do lots of things that it's like, I think that's going to be a fairly consistent feeling, but that's the feeling that I want to cultivate, yeah. Great solution, you like it? The board is massive, wow. Will it grow by stages or is it revealed on the start? It's not revealed on the start, so I have the fog of war disabled for debug purposes, but there is a fog of war, so this is not like Slay the Spire where you can see the whole map ahead of you. There is a fog of war which conceals nodes that are beyond your vision. So like I can only see up to 3 jumps away. So I can only see nodes that are 3 jumps away from where I currently am. So that's 1, 2, 3 there, 1, 2, 3 there, 1, 2, 3 there, 1, 2, 3 there. And so this mechanic, this fog of war mechanic, is mostly designed to prevent, because this is a larger map, so it's mostly designed to prevent players from, at the beginning, just having this like map overload and saying, okay, here's the exact path I'm going to go through. There's a little bit of element of like mystery, like I don't know what's out here, and so I kind of just have to make a decision about which way I'm going to go, and then as nodes are revealed, I may change the path. I may say, oh, you know, there's a shop up here, so now let me analyze which path I want to take to get there, right? So that's the main reason behind the fog of war. It does feel like it adds an element of randomness, like even though the map is pre-generated ahead of time, because I as a player don't know what the next nodes are going to be, there's an element of surprise, right? Like I'll visit this node and then boom, like artifact gets revealed here and I'm like, oh, I need that, right? So rather than being able to plan all ahead of time and rather than knowing all the information up front, the information is revealed to the player as they travel. And then I think that creates an interesting dynamic. For dumb people like me, that's a huge improvement. Awesome, yeah. I mean, I don't mean to imply that I agree with the fact that you're dumb, but I'm glad that you think it's a huge improvement is what I meant. Good morning, Ninja Link. Great game plan there. The feeling of, oh, just made it by my skills is a great feeling during gameplay. Yeah, sounds hard to achieve with all the variables, but I think you're getting there. Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think it's largely a smoke and mirrors thing. Like, I think that as long as the game is flexible enough where you can, like, use the alchemy to get the build that you want and, like, there's plenty of options available to you, it's basically hopefully going to just be a matter of, like, the stuff to get by is always available to you. It's just, like, as a player, are you making use of that, right? I definitely don't want this to be a game where you're just subject to the pure RNG of it. Like, I don't want the players to feel like they lost a run because of the RNG. I want players to feel like they lost a run because they didn't make the most use of the things that were given to them, right? And yeah, it's going to be hard, but like I said, I think that there's so many opportunities to get items and there's so many opportunities to get enchantments and artifacts that, like, at the end of the day, if you don't end up putting together a coherent build, I want that to feel like that's on you and not on the game not giving you what you could have used. Now, does that mean that if you're trying to go for a poison build, I want you to be able to get all the poison items you need? No. It's just that all the ingredients you need to make a coherent and powerful build will be presented to you, and it's just a matter of, like, are you paying attention and are you making use of those things? That's what I'm trying to do anyway. We will see. How dare you, yeah. Hello, Wiseham, welcome back. Good to see you. Okay, all right. So anyway, I've got some more mundane stuff to work on the stream here, which we will get right into. So the run overview screen doesn't use currently selected character. So if we take a look at the run overview screen here, so this I think is just hard coded to the Necromancer every time. So if I die with, like, the skeleton character, this will still be the Necromancer. So we need to fix that. What's on the agenda today? Just probably a bunch of small things. The art is epic. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so let's go into run overview. So the run overview screen is interesting here. So by the time this run overview screen gets entered, the save data has already been cleared for the current run. So the run save model actually gets passed in this run overview context. And the run save model has the character ID here. So that's good. So I just need to figure out how to set up. Oops, I hate that. I wish I could lock these tabs. Anyway. Where is the character? Character platform, here we go. So the character definition resource, yeah, that's going to be a problem. And the decoration texture is also going to be a problem. I may need to do some reworking here, I think. This is going to be a little bit messy, but let's do this. Public void, set character definition resource. If character definition resource is not equal to null, we'll call setup here. I'm actually going to get rid of this decoration texture, I think. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of this decoration texture, and I'm actually going to put this in the character definition resource here. So we've got this scene. Let's do platform decoration texture. Make this public. And I'm going to have to reset all of these things or reassign all these things, but that's okay. Private set. Okay. So we got the platform decoration texture. This, we'll do that in setup as well. So in setup here, decoration.texture is equal to character definition resource dot platform decoration texture. Okay. All right, let's build. What are your thoughts on no-code engines like GDevelop? I mean, I don't have any thoughts on that. I think it's good that there are tools available for a variety of people. Like I know that there are a lot of people out there who are making games with the no-code approach because that's what they're comfortable with. I think the most important thing is that whatever tool, you're using whatever tool is most comfortable for you. For me personally, I would not feel comfortable using a no-code engine. I feel like that's just, because I come from a software background, I feel like that would be more limiting than it would be freeing. So I prefer to have code that I can write, but everyone's different. Yeah, I don't know if there's much more to say beyond that. Necromancer. Platform decoration texture. Platform Necromancer. Potion Man. So the courier is called Potion Man in the code base because I didn't have a name for him when I started working on him. So Potion Man. Which one is this? The priestess. That one, and then the skeleton. Platform. This is the skeleton here. Okay, and let's just go to the character select and just resave all this. So that character definition resource, so the platform decoration is stored on that resource now. So now if I go to the run overview, what I should be able to do is we are going to do, let's do setup character platform context.run save model dot, let's just do character ID. So we go to character or setup character platform. Character registry.from ID, and we set the character definition on the character platform there. Cool. So let's do this. I guess we'll just go through the whole flow, see if that works. If you had to give yourself one piece of advice when you're first starting out, whether it's about motivation, the learning process, or something else, what would it be? That's a good question. I think it's the advice that I've given before, which is that when you're getting started with game development, like, it's going to be very hard and the learning curve is very steep, and try not to get, like, try to have patience with yourself, right? Try to understand that it's a difficult thing to do and that there are going to be many situations where you get stuck and where you get frustrated, and that's a normal part of the learning process. Like, that does not indicate that there's something wrong with you or that there's something wrong with your ability to understand what's going on. It's just that's part of the natural learning curve of doing game development because it's so difficult. So yeah, my advice to myself starting out would just be like, yeah, have patience with yourself. Understand that there are going to be moments that are frustrating and that are difficult. And that's like actually that's a required part of the experience. Like, that's how you're going to learn, is by coming up against those barriers and like slowly chipping away at them and working through them. And I think that framing could help a lot because, if you're getting into game development and you're looking at all these people online who are making all these, like when I started making games when I was 14 years old, I was playing all these Flash games and I was like, how in the world are these people making these super fun, super good looking Flash games, and my games are like just absolute garbage? It's like I felt like there was just something that I was doing wrong. And that's not the case at all. It's just, you just need to put the time in to learn. No code is so inflexible. Sorry, the dog is freaking out. No code is so inflexible. Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel. But for other people, it may be the case that that no code is more flexible. Hello, Brahim Builds. Are you using an add-on for Node, the thing you're using instead of getNode, the ready method? Yes, it's my Godot utilities NuGet package. So you could go to my GitHub, github.com/firebelly, and look for Godot utilities. And you can either pull down the source code and edit it yourself because it's MIT licensed, or you can just pull it straight off of NuGet if you would like to do that. So like, here's what the package reference looks like. Firebelly.Godot utilities. 6.1.1 is the current version. So that gives that provides source generators that allow you to get nodes in the way that I'm doing it. May need to change that art, but that's okay. The character is being created properly now, so that's good. So yeah, the Godot utilities comes with those source generators with that node attribute, and then also there's a bunch of other like extension methods and whatnot that are available. What are the benefits to using C# over GDScript? Just the differences in the language, basically. You know, having interfaces and proper abstract classes and the other nice things about C#, link and whatnot. So the benefits are, you know, it just comes down to personal preference, really. Game wishlisted, join the playtest too as soon as I get my notebook. Get on my notebook, I'll play, give some feedback, hope I can help. Yeah, awesome, thank you. Ocean Man. You know what, my friend was singing that every time I said Potion Man too. Goodness. Everyone have a path, no one has a shortcut. That's great advice. I'm definitely in that stage getting so annoyed with myself and just having to take a moment and remind myself that it takes years, not weeks. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I would never do no code. How important is Godot asset libraries a beginner? Should I use them? I personally have never found a compelling reason to use assets in my games, except for like sound effects assets, but those are not like Godot specific assets, right? So, but again, it's like, it's up to you. Like you may be making a specific type of game that's going to be helpful using an asset. So for example, you know, I know a lot of people are using things like Dialogic for dialogue heavy games. And if I was making a dialogue heavy game, then I may consider pulling in an asset like that or a plugin like that. But, you know, I think, you know, again, it's one of those things where the more tools that are available to people, the better. I personally don't really care that much about the asset store for my personal use because I've never really found a reason to pull anything off the asset store. But, you know, whatever enables people to get their Godot games built is a good thing in my book. Well, you've been at work, yeah. I was up till, well, yeah, I was working on the game until like 9 p.m. last night. Basically all day with like a 1.5 hour Arc Raiders break in there somewhere. There's a lot of work to do. It's got to get done somehow. You're welcome, Brahim Builds. The player node is one I use a lot in other scripts. Just have it in global so any other script can reference it. That works. gdevelop is great to some point, but as my logics were getting overwhelmingly big, gdevelop started creating a problem. Yeah, that sounds about right. So I decided to migrate to GDScript. The next playtest, yeah, the playtest is live right now. It's live until Monday, so you have a couple days. What is that shader for the portal? It's just a spiral shader with some noise that is disturbing the edges of the spiral. It's pretty straightforward. You could just look up spiral shader or ask Claude to do it, and it's pretty straightforward. I've been using Claude to do most of my shader work because it's just like, I don't know how to do shaders. Hello, Wooius, welcome. Godot Asset Store is not nearly as good as Unity Asset Store or Fab. I don't know if that's a hot take. I think that most people would agree with that, but maybe I'm wrong. I tried Dialogic, but was built in GDScript, so getting C# to hook to it was annoying. I think the language difference is a big reason against using Asset Lib. Yeah, I think that's one of those things where there would have to be like C# wrappers for like a underlying Godot plugin. Like, I think I haven't looked at Dialogic, but it should be possible in theory to create a bunch of wrapper classes that do the GDScript function calls under the hood and then return or accept the proper like argument types. But I'm sure that's a big undertaking. But, you know, I think, is Dialogic open source? Because, you know, somebody could make a contribution for that and say, hey, here's a bunch of C# wrapper classes for all the functionality. I feel like that should be doable, but like I said, I haven't looked at the source code. Which program is this that organizes your work to do doing done? It's Obsidian with the Kanban plugin. You never know what the Godot cult. Yeah, I mean, I am a Godot cultist for sure, but I think I would say I'm a reasonable Godot cultist. I don't want anyone in the Godot cult who is not like fully on board, you know what I mean? And being fully on board with Godot means accepting Godot all warts and all, right? Not that Godot can do no wrong, but that Godot is the best even with all of its imperfections. Join the cult, yeah. It's possible to make a wrapper, but having to make them every time is meh, yeah. Well, again, I know there's hesitance around like using AI tools, but to do that kind of rote work where you basically just need a transparent wrapper around the GDScript functionality, that might be something that I just sick Claude on and say like, hey, create a wrapper C# class for this Godot script. You know, because if it's just going to be rote work where you're just like having to do one-to-one mapping every time, it might be best to just stick the LLM on it, go grab some coffee and come back and you've got a complete implementation. Anyway, add passive tag to paralysis and exhaust immunity and anything else that implements I non-compatibility. So paralysis immunity does not have the passive tag. So let's see what all implements I non-compatibility. Alchemy absorb. I don't think I need that. I don't think I need this. Exhaust immunity. How do I do this? Is passive equals true? Is passive equals true? Is passive equals true? Okay. Let's do this. Project settings, skip menu. Am I weird for using the Godot default script editor and not using VS Code, etc.? I don't think so. I mean, the Godot editor exists for a reason, you know? Some people like the fact that it's integrated right into the editor. You know, I've written GDs, like, especially for game jams, I've written, you know, game jams in GDScript like right in the Godot editor. I think it's fine. But maybe for a more serious GDScript project, I would for a more serious GDScript project, I would probably use an external editor just because, you know, the purpose-built IDEs are always going to be better or more rich, at least in terms of functionality, than the GDScript or the built-in editor there. Okay, so passive immune to paralysis, passive immune to exhaust, and then the enchant. Let's just see if I get that enchant on the off chance that I... Let's see, enchant configuration. Paralysis immunity enchant. This get description should return paralysis immunity.get description. Okay, anyway. Yeah, I'm really liking the addition of that passive tag there. Reduce turn cooldown by 0.3 seconds. I may actually end up buffing this. So I did make the change that Ninja Link suggested, which is to limit items to having one enchantment. So now that these enchantments cannot be stacked on top of each other, it may be useful to actually make that a more significant reduction. I may just go ahead and do that right now. Why not? Let's turn this up from -3 to -7. So that will reduce the cooldown by 0.7 seconds. So it's a little bit more impactful, and I can make all of the enchants more impactful now, so I may need to do that. Let's just write a card for that. Do a pass on enchants to make them more impactful. And you know what we can do too, with this being interesting? I actually do like the idea of adding more base level restrictions, because what that does is that opens up the opportunity to introduce, for example, an artifact which, you know, allows items to receive an additional enchantment, right? So artifact, allow items to receive additional enchant. So now that I've added that restriction into the game, I can modify that restriction through artifacts. But anyway, this is done. All right, what do we got up next? Single alchemy input needs to be renamed and set to is reagent ability. Let's rename this. Alchemy single input. Is reagent ability equals true. Let's give that a test. Thanks for the tips and answers. I'm going to my wife's birthday lunch now. See you later. All right, happy birthday to your wife, and yeah, hope to see you at the next one. GD script just reminds me of what Unity script started as. Yeah. Is this Obsidian? It is, yes. It is Obsidian. Welcome, EB. It's Obsidian with the Kanban plugin. Okay, so previously this second ability here would not say alchemy, but I think this is working a lot better now. So I'm just, you know, fixing up random things that I noted when I was working yesterday. Fix Death Orchid not having alchemy single input marked correctly. Get rid of that. Okay. Reduce ability slots on items. So there's this. I still need to figure out how to get alchemy working well. Somebody had an interesting idea, which was to make alchemy require a certain number of inputs. I thought what was funny too is that that same person in Discord suggested making the other items consumed during alchemy, which was the original approach that I had, if you remember. So it used to be the case that you would do alchemy, you would only be able to choose one of the outputs, and that all the remaining outputs would get destroyed after you chose one. The reason I removed that is because, so there's a couple of considerations with alchemy. It's like, I want alchemy to feel good, and the more negative things are stacked on alchemy, the less likely players are to use it. And so there's a little bit of a balance here, which is like to make the cost of alchemy not so much, but there still needs to be a cost so that it's not just a straight like feature where you just get more powerful. So in other words, there needs to be a cost that is more reasonable, where the benefits of alchemy still outweigh the costs, but the costs in some situations are like actual costs, right? So I think there's still opportunities here. You know, I think it's interesting to just say, for example, like, you know, alchemy requires a certain number of cells to be filled before you can use it. The other thing that's kind of a problem with alchemy that's kind of hard to balance around is that I want to encourage players to have multiple cards in alchemy at once. But the problem is, the more cards you have in alchemy, the more items you put in the alchemy, the more random the result is. So there's this incentive to just do alchemy like pairwise. Just do 2 cards at a time, 2 items at a time. Add item. Wyvern hatchling. So like, let's say that I wanted to get the fire ability on a skeleton. Well, the obvious thing to do is just to put the wyvern with the skeleton and do that by themselves. I don't really have an incentive to like put all these things together, because that's just going to add more randomness into the result, right? So I've been constantly like chewing on this idea, like how do I actually get players to feel like doing alchemy with multiple items at once is a good idea? And I still haven't landed on a good solution for that. I'm kind of intrigued by the idea of just saying like, hey, at least, you know, 6 slots in the alchemy board need to be filled. And those can be filled with reagents, or they can be filled with other items, whatever. Like, I wonder what kind of effect that would have, because then it would become more of a matter of like, okay, like, I don't want to put garbage items into the board because that could randomize my really strong item, right? So maybe I'm incentivized to like make sure that all or most of the abilities that I'm putting into the alchemy are abilities that I would love to have on my item, right? Or, you know, that could also offer some kind of pressure where it's like, okay, this item is already pretty good. Like, I would love to get X, Y, and Z ability on it, but I'm worried about the risk of like removing, you know, W ability. So maybe I'll keep that one for now until I get a reagent that can protect those abilities or whatever. So it's kind of intriguing. But yeah, this is something that I still need to think about. It's a little bit tricky of a problem. I wonder if someone has made an organizational plugin for Godot that sits on the output tab section. I don't know. More cards, higher chance for random legendary. Have like a tooltip that says 2% chance for legendary outcome. Yeah, that could work. Could putting more items in increase the chance of a legendary. Yeah, the problem is that, you know, is that enough of an incentive, right? Like, are legendary items powerful enough that players will want to try that? I suspect that the answer is no. A lot of people usually make their own log singleton classes for that. Is there a way to have like evolutions when 2 abilities get merged into alchemy? I mean, yes, there is a way to do that. Obviously, like there's a way to do everything, but the problem is that that's a whole brand new system that would require all the infrastructure and tooling for that to be built. I would need a way of defining evolutions. I would need a way of, you know, writing, you know, not just defining like which abilities merge together to create evolutions, but then I would need to actually create the evolved ability, and then I would need to somehow communicate that to the player. So yeah, there's it's just, I think that's one of those things where the game would have had to been built with that idea from the start, from the ground up, and this game was just not built like that. But also the other thing too is like I think there's a way to make the alchemy very, very, very compelling with just what's here. It's just I gotta finesse it. I gotta figure out how exactly to do that. Maybe a reagent that can be alchemized with only one other item, glazing it and locking all of its effects. Yeah, honey already does that. Oh, I see. The filled effects. You can add more empty slots which remain non-locked. That is an interesting idea. So a reagent that locks an ability, or a reagent that causes an ability to become innate so that it can't be modified during alchemy. That's an interesting idea. I meant as in permanently, yeah. Forcing a cell count would make using small cards difficult. It may feel similar to how large cards did before. Yeah. Yeah, there's, you know, a lot of considerations to be made, I guess. Anyway, we're not going to solve this right now. That's just something I'm thinking about. Like, alchemy... I want alchemy to feel like this almost like slot machine mechanic where like it's a gamble, but when you hit that perfect item, it's like, oh yes, finally. But the problem is that it's too deterministic right now, so it's very easy to get the abilities that you want on an item. And so I think I'm just coming back to the situation where like more randomness is required. But I have the empty ability slot system, which needs to be accounted for now. And I don't think I can remove that empty ability slot system because that's the system that makes large cards much more appealing, because large cards now have more ability potential than if you were to cobble together a bunch of small cards in that same region. So like, for instance, the Skeleton Dragon, which is a 3x3, has more ability slots actually than if you had put the board like 9 1x1s on the board. So that would give you 9 abilities, whereas the Skeleton Dragon has, I think, 12 ability slots. And that's true of all the larger cards too. So like a 2x2 card has more ability slots than if you would have put like a 2 1x2s together. So these Skeleton Warriors, they have a cumulative 4 abilities, but 2x2 items have 5 abilities. So I can actually support more abilities in the same space because of that ability slot system. So I think that's good because that's going a long way to making larger items more appealing. Why is this Fist of Anger such a low... Why is that such a low cooldown? I'm just going to change that right now. Found myself using many items in alchemy more often than before, but usually only if honey is involved. Yeah. Anyway, we can worry about that later. I don't think this is necessary anymore because I did remove the tiers from things, so we get rid of that. That's a bug there. I still wasn't able to reproduce the legendary gaining an ability slot and being unfillable. And then there's a couple of bugs that were reported today or late last night. It's a long shot, but how about getting an entirely new card when alchemizing too? They'd have recipes like Baby Dragon, Skeleton equals Skeleton Dragon. The Skeleton Dragon would have a combination of the abilities of the Baby Dragon and Skeleton. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Like I said, though, I want to see if I can get the alchemy working with just the mechanics that I have now. Although the idea of... Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough problem. It's a tough problem for sure. I liked the random mix-up and then you get to only choose one card. I know empty slots makes that difficult though. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough problem. I need to think about it some more. Now you got me wondering what a Yu-Gi-Oh style combined the Exodia cards would look like. Yeah, I mean, that's been suggested before. It's just like, I haven't built the game with that in mind. And so like, that would be a pretty late addition. Cause again, we're trying to get to the point where the game is like feature complete. And I'm just making like tweaks around the edges now. I'm not really trying to rework any systems or add new major systems. Just trying to get the game, you know, working well with what's already there. I was kind of fond of what someone suggested where they would always lose just one item from alchemy result instead of all of them. You're free to steal my idea. So it's just, so yeah, just sacrifice one. Single series of cards that can be combined if detected. Sacrificing one card. Yeah, that's an interesting idea too. I was just thinking of like maybe a system where the alchemy board is locked or something until you like explicitly sacrifice a card. And then it opens up the alchemy board and then you can do like one alchemy. So you need to sacrifice a card as a cost every time. But I don't know. Yeah, I need to think about it more. All right, tell you what, we can work on some new content. I'm actually kind of, I kind of want to make this artifact allow items to receive an additional enchant. So let's do that. We need to come up with a theme for that artifact. I also need to start working on some more cards, particularly, or items rather, particularly the enemy items. But I really want to make this artifact, so let's do that. It all needs to get done, right? I would love for this, like I would love for there to be enough artifacts that it basically fills this entire canvas by the time the game releases. So what is that? Is this, I think there are 10 rows or 10 columns. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 10 columns across. So there's room for 66 more artifacts in here. So I would love to just fill this canvas with artifacts, and that would give us 100 artifacts in the game, because this is I believe this is 10 by 10 in terms of the grid cells. Yeah. So if I filled this whole thing, that would, well, this is the same artifact here, so that would give us 99 artifacts, 99 unique artifacts if I filled this before release. Which I think would be a good number of artifacts, honestly. That probably would be fine. I love new content. Yeah, me too. Amulet bougie. Oh, an amulet for enchanting? We could do that. Should we do an amulet? Oh, you said boy, not bougie. Yeah, amulet. Witch heart. That's a good idea for a theme. Okay, anyway, we'll do an amulet. That sounds good. But I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when I come back, we will work on that. So enjoy the soft lo-fi tunes while I'm away for just 3 minutes. Okay, I'm back. What do you think he does during these 3-minute breaks? I think he has a giant cauldron he does his alchemy in. I assure you it's much more mundane than that. Much more mundane than that. Okay. Anyway. So we're gonna do an amulet. I think we're gonna call it Amulet of the Enchanter, maybe? Sorry, 1 second. But Amulet of the Enchanter. And we can make it look all sparkly and whatnot. Amulet. Okay. Background. It's gonna be a little bit hard to do this, I think. Just trying to get the silhouette down first. I think that looks okay. So let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do with this now. Well, this is not quite working out the way that I wanted it to, but that's okay. We will figure something out. Okay. Just pepper some of these in, and some of these, and some of these. Remember that SpongeBob? Remember that SpongeBob episode? I don't know about this part. I might try to redo this a little bit. The actual amulet portion of the amulet. Yeah, I mean, I think that looks decent. Yeah, I think that looks fine now. Now the question is, did I do this at least 3 pixels away from the border? I did. Okay. How are we feeling about that? I think it looks pretty good, actually. I have no regrets, not even a single letter. Do you use any form of AI? I use LLMs for coding in a bunch of circumstances, but that's basically the extent of my AI usage. I've explained this before, but basically what I'll use LLMs for is like for doing the rote work that I know how to do, or I use them for like validating an architectural change that I want to make to the code. AI is really good for like understanding the code base too. So if you're like, hey, I want to make this change, like if I change X, Y, and Z, does that have implications for anything else in the code base? And sometimes the AI will be like, yes, this class over here relies on those things that you're changing, and you need to make sure to update that as well. So yeah, I use it just like a tool like anything else, but I don't rely on it to do the vast majority of my coding for sure. Soul Lantern has a 50% chance not to consume a res stone. Ooh, interesting. That's a good idea. Let's write that down. Are you a full-time indie dev? If not, what do you do for work? Yes, I am full-time. Alchemortis is my only job right now. Alchemortis is my only job at the moment. Artifact, a resource, amulet, save, amulet of the enchanter. Copy this, paste this here. Okay, alternative art, we don't need alternative art. Edit this region, there we go. Okay. Description allows items to be enchanted 1 additional time. Allows items to have 1 additional enchantment. Items can have one additional enchantment. That's fine. Okay. So we've got that. Now we need to create the artifact script. Create new file, amulet. I really hope release goes well. I don't want to lose my content. It's success for you too, I guess. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope it goes well as well. You know, we got to do the marketing effort still. And I think, you know, what's encouraging is that people have tried the playtest. We have almost 1,200 playtesters. So that's double, almost exactly double the amount of playtesters we had from the previous playtest. And, you know, people have been pointing out problems with the game, which is what the playtest is for. But for the most part, I think people are really enjoying the game. Like, even the people who are like leaving me, you know, lots of feedback, like this is bad, this is bad. These are people who are playing the playtest version for like at least a couple of hours, right? So the game is there. Like the core fundamental part of the game is fun. And the only thing that's really a barrier or friction to that fun is like all of these secondary things that need to be addressed. So if I focus on, you know, addressing the quality of life, addressing the information overload, addressing, you know, the weird parts like the resurrection mechanic and all that stuff, and getting the alchemy to be more fun and more engaging, I think we're going to be set. I think it's going to be good. And then the main thing after that is just going to be, you know, can we build up the wish lists and get that in a good spot? Enchanting amulet as a double meaning. Oh, interesting. I'm gonna steal that. Sorry, not sorry. Thanks for the reply. You're welcome, Burb Doy. I've been wrangling with AI usage at my job, front-end web, for the past year, but I'm just trying to stomach it. Yeah. I find that AI is really good when you're like using it in a narrowly focused manner, when you're using it as an augment to your own capabilities rather than a replacement for it. So again, like one of my favorite uses of AI is like doing the rote stuff. Like I know that I need to do X, Y, and Z thing to the code base. I know exactly how to do it, but it's just going to take me 15 or 20 minutes to do it by hand, right? In that case, it's just like, here's what to do. Here's what I want you to do. Go and do it. And then, you know, 3 minutes later, it's done everything, right? That is actually making like programming like fun. Because then what I can do is I can focus on like the actual challenging problems and like thinking about the architecture and like how to implement my abilities and everything. And then the AI can do all the boring rote stuff that comes with like refactoring or whatever, you know. I think that's a really good balance, because then I don't have to do the parts that are boring. I get to only do the parts that are fun. And it also speeds up the development too, because it's like spending 20 minutes doing something that you already know how to do. Well, I can save that 20 minutes now, right? Like that 20 minutes is freed up. I'm not using energy doing something that's kind of just like very straightforward. So yeah, I like it, but why C#? I just prefer C# to GDScript, that's all. Firebelly Games is getting sued. No, please don't sue me. I'm just a guy. Okay, so let's go to enchant container. Private int max additional enchants is equal to artifact manager dot get artifact count by ID, artifact ID dot amulet. And I actually need to run that script, so let's do that. ID constants generator, that will put my artifact ID right there. And then that now works. this this item enchant count is less than 1 plus max additional enchants. Okay. There's an easy way to test this now. Is my enchantment 7? I don't remember. Let's see. No, I think upgrade is 7. Enchant is 4. 4 was my second guess for the record. AI still can't write an entire front end, so it sucked, versus it can still do this one thing very well. What scares me is talking with oil companies that want to use AI for automation, concerned with operator safety. That is a very niche concern. I don't think I've ever heard that come up in the list of AI concerns. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go in here. Let's see if I can add another enchantment to this. This item cannot receive more enchantments. Add artifact. Amulet. Boom. Enchanting amulet. Items can have 1 additional enchantment. So now I can do this now. Boom. Check that out. And then add item amulet. So again, all the artifacts in the game, or most of the artifacts in this game, are designed to stack. So if I add artifact amulet here, I should be able to add a 3rd enchant onto this guy. Yeah, there we go. You hear all the crazy things AI executives say, it definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Yeah, the other thing too is like, you know, that's a lot of the stuff that they say is just like marketing hype. Like, oh no, Opus 4.7 is super intelligent and it's going to destroy the world's cybersecurity, and then they release it and it's like nothing happens. You know, it's like these guys are salesmen first and foremost. They're not honest. They're not honest evaluators of the capabilities of AI. They're selling a product. So you have to keep that in mind too. Okay, add enchanting amulet. Alrighty. Done there. All right, maybe we should work on a new card now, a new item. That's because I work in the sector and I'm seeing it come up now. Gotcha. That's understandable. These are the same people behind NFTs and blockchains, but they've been taken seriously now. Yeah. Yep, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? We gotta do some enemy items as well. Paladin is one, Griffin, Unicorn. Dang, I've got a lot of enemy items. We could do the gnome though for the player. Do we have any? Let me look at my cards. Still wish I could filter by card size in this screen. I'm looking for like L-shaped cards. How many of those do we have? That's a big L shape. Alembic is the only shape like this. So I was thinking if I could do a gnome of that size. Oh no, the guillotine is that shape too. Well, it's fine. I have an idea for making the gnome that size. Let's do the gnome. It's not an enemy card, but I kind of want to do this. Gnome. Okay. Card creation tool. It's been a while since I actually made new content for this game. The past couple of weeks I've just been messing with the systems, so it's kind of nice to take a break and just do some good old art. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, there's his hat. This is not working out that well. Just do it very, very sloppy to begin with. And then we'll fix it up later. So we do very sloppy to begin with. Thinking we give him like big shoes. Maybe those shoes are too big. It's kind of funny, I guess. Problem with a gnome is that all of his limbs are super small, so... Oh, I didn't mean to put that there, but that's okay. Like I said, this is going to be very sloppy to begin with, and then we will figure out what to do in a second. Anyway, what I was thinking of doing here is the gnome is kind of like tending to a little mushroom farm kind of deal. Although that's not quite working. Like I said, just very, very rough to begin with, and then we'll go back and change things as necessary. Just get the shape done at a basic level first. And then we'll figure out what to do from there. Okay, anyway. That might be okay. I have to figure out what to do about that mushroom. Anyway, Butcher, Baker, Candlestick Maker. What's your stack on audio? I don't. Are you talking about sound effects for the game? I don't really have like I mean, I have the GDC audio bundles, and those GDC audio bundles are where I get like all my sound effects. In terms of like, so I am doing some sound effects processing. So all of my sound effects, for example, they're all like wave files, and they're all reduced to a 40 or a 22,000 kilohertz sample rate, and then all the music it's 64 kilobit per second. I don't know if that helps, but I'm kind of like crunching down the audio to give it a little bit of like a retro feel, if that makes sense. But I don't know if that's what you were asking. I don't know what to do about this. You love the gnome. I have a question. How do you make your game music in SFX? Is there a specific app? Oh, I think I just answered that, yeah. By the way, I forget to say hello. Hi, Usama, welcome back. Gnome with a sack. Looking good, man. Wheelbarrow incoming. Oh, wheelbarrow would have been a good idea. A gnome with a pot. Keemstar is in the game. Why the light mode? It's Sprite 95. It's Windows 95 theme. There's a dark mode. There is a dark mode, yeah. A gnome with hopes and dreams. The extra cell is for his third. Okay. Why does this tools look like it's from MS Paint? I think I just answered that, yeah. The accidental inverted cross on him. Oops. GDC gives away a... Yeah, well, it's Sonus. Sonus does GDC audio bundles, and it's... I think the total bundle size is like approaching 200 gigabytes if you get all of the GDC bundles. But I like that. I mean, it's all royalty free, and there's so many sound effects that it's like I haven't really felt super limited with the options available. Do I even need this here? What happens if I get rid of this? I don't really know about the mushrooms. I mean, this one... This one is okay, maybe? Problem... Maybe I'll redraw this one. I don't really like how that one turned out. Can move this one closer. Can I just like... Oops. Kind of gives me the same result that I just had, but I'll redraw. I'll draw a different one. Anyway, let's focus a little bit on the gnome here. I don't know if I like that either. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna figure this out for sure. Well, we'll try something like that, I suppose. Like I said, very rough. Very rough to start. Let's see if we can figure it out. That's looking better. Most of the sound effects suck though. You have to go through piles of rubbish to find a gem. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sound effects which are pretty bad. Like, there's a bunch of like creature sound effects, which is obviously just a very untalented guy making noises into the microphone. I've been tempted to just outright delete those in many cases, but haven't done that yet. I guess I shouldn't be so mean, but they really aren't that great. Okay. The gnome is coming along. I guess the pain is downloading and searching all those files for sound effects you can use, but you complain about free. Well, everything. So I have this everything app, which is basically just a way of searching things within a certain directory. So I have all my sound effects saved on my drive, and I have this configured to search everything in that game development assets directory. Now, some of these things are, no, these are all sound files. So there's 170,000 sound files. So if I want to find something, I'll just say like metal. I'll just paste, or I'll just type metal in, and that filters down all of the sound effects to file names that match metal, right? And so that gives me 3,300 different files to search through. And what I'll do, and a lot of these are just like, you know, the same sound effect done in a different style. So like this metal jump one, I don't know if you can see it, it's probably too small. There we go. So like this metal jump one, metal jump two, these are all going to be the same kind of style, right? So that's 10 of them right there. So I'll just, oops, I didn't mean to do that. So I'll just, you know, listen to that and say, no, I don't want that. So I'll just kind of like go through here and just like, you can double click the things right from here, and that will play the sound. And then I'll usually have like another window, like a file explorer window open, where I can just drag these files over into that window, and that copies them over. So I just grab a bunch of sound effects, but sometimes the search term doesn't return anything. And so what I'll do in that case is I'll just kind of like randomly scroll through this and just click on things. But, you know, I could do like paper, right? So I've got like a bunch of paper sound effects. I could do like inventory, which also searches the file path. So battle, inventory, SFX. You know, we've got like explosion. So I could search explo for explosion. So that's the way I do it. It's maybe not the ideal way of doing it, but that's how I kind of like get through those files. What's a good app to make SFX? I don't want to have to go outside and record some birds. That's a good question. I don't know. How many people notice when you use royalty-free sound effects? Must be like 5. Yeah, I mean, I think like movies and stuff will use sound effects libraries too. Like if you pay attention when you're watching movies, you will often hear the same sound effects across movies. And I think you're right. I think most people don't notice it, but yeah, like using sound effects packs Like I can't, you know, I personally can't be bothered to like try to record my own sound effects. There's also a lot of good sound effects packs on itch, and a lot of those are free as well. So you can go to itch.io and search for sound effects packs. So yeah, there's a lot of options available. It is kind of a pain to figure out, you know, or to find the sound effects that match too, that's for sure. Okay, let's do... I mean, I'm not totally satisfied with this mushroom here, but there's no reason to spend a bunch of time working on this, so let us do another one here. I don't need to spend all day on these mushrooms, since these are just decorative elements. I may do something a little bit interesting here. Whatever. I think it's good enough. Yeah, it's fine. We'll call this good and be done with it. Okay. I always remember how Overwatch used a can popping open sound for critical hits because it was satisfying. Yeah, that's true. Wonder if I could 3D print things that make satisfying clicks to record. Maybe. He's watching right now and devastated, yeah. That's why his sound effects are free. Maybe I need to find a Linux alternative. Can you play one of the bad ones? I don't know if it's going to come through. We could try it. Let's see, everything. I can't hear it myself, so... Trying to remember. Well, let's see. I should probably turn the music off. Let's see if I can hear it myself. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear that. It's probably too... Hold on. Nope. Where was that bird that I... Oh, here. Where was that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's like super bad. Like, I would never use that for... Yeah, like, these are terrible. That one's good. I think I'm using this pigeon call, actually, in Alchemortis. Oh, it's just playing all of the sounds. I gotta figure out this app, but yeah. Like, that's just... It's just awful. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. Anyway. I was thinking, would AI be able to make audio? Yes, there are several audio AI generated services available. Yeah, I think 11 Labs has one where you basically just describe the sound effect you want and it generates that sound effect, but much better than AI slop, yeah. Saturday morning stream. Hello, the malicious rabbit. Yeah, I'm trying not to use... I mean, I'm not trying. I'm not using any AI-generated assets in this game. I think it's... Number one, it's too early for that. Number two, people really don't like when you use AI-generated assets in game development. So, you know, I'll just keep using the assets that are available that were made by people. And of course, I'm doing all my own art and everything. And we'll see. You know, it's possible that over time, people will come to accept that AI is going to be part of video game asset generation, or that won't happen. But I'm just gonna wait and see where the consensus goes before I experiment with that. But yeah, I'm just gonna stick with human-made assets for the foreseeable future. I just don't want, like, I mean, that's basically just like a purely business decision. Like, I don't in principle have a problem with generative AI. It's just that, you know, if my sales are going to be hurt because people don't like AI generated assets, then I'm not going to do that, you know? It's like, I'm going to give the people what they want, right? So no AI generated assets for now, for the foreseeable future. But like I said, if it becomes more common in the industry, like where indie devs are starting to use AI assets in their workflows and whatnot, then at that point I'll reconsider. But yeah, no sense in doing it right now. You're the only person I've seen use Microsoft's everything. Is this is not a Microsoft tool, I don't think. Yeah. There was a file that was like an hour of the worst car noises ever. It's Sonus GDC audio bundle, clicker tail. So if you just search SONNISS GDC audio bundles, I'll put it in chat so you can look at it. Yeah, I could do better than that. Yeah, you could. I mean, I honestly think you could do better than that just by like creating random algorithmic sounds in Audacity and then like applying filters to them. Like, anyway, it was pretty bad, right? Was that person saying Twitch? Yeah. Isn't everything the app that indexes every file and disk? I've heard how it kills drives. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I don't know why indexing files would kill drives. But just record a bird. As bad as those bird sounds are, it would be fun to have all of your sounds be really obviously human voices. Yeah, I mean, that could be, you know, that could be a stylistic choice, especially if you're making kind of like a humorous game. I almost said humoristic, like that's a word. Especially if you're making a humorous game, right? It's like, I think there's a place for those, right? But it has to be very obviously like a corny kind of game. But no one's using those sound effects for any game where they're actually trying to use a bird sound. That turn cooldown is incorrect. Does this need to have the turn cooldown here? I don't think so, actually. Get rid of that. Need a wacky game to pair it with, yeah. 1 hour, 1 life does that. The dev made every noise. Oh, interesting. Anyway, let's figure out what the gnome's ability should be. So this is a 2x2 card with the excluded cells of 1, 0. Flavor text, we'll come up with the flavor text later. Let me write that down so I don't forget. We'll do minion. Should we make the gnome alchemical just for fun? To imply that the gnome is just merely a source of alchemical reagents? I think that'll be fun. I don't think we have... Do we have any minion and alchemical? Oh, I think we do. Probably the jellyfish. Let's do ally, minion, alchemical, exact tags. Oh, we have a lot of them, actually. Never mind, then. Do we have any minion ritual? We have minion rituals. Minion relic. Interesting. Do we have minion, alchemical, and relic? No. Kind of tempted to make him a relic, too. Or not relic, ritual. To make it a relic like it turns into a statue. Maybe. Yeah, maybe minion, relic, alchemical. Yeah, maybe. Let's do that. Okay, now we need abilities for this guy. What am I doing? Oh, I want to just look at the card inspection tool. I just Googled it was a search index or not everything Windows 11 search indexer causes high workload and SSD wear. Oh, interesting. I don't know if I have that enabled, but that's good to know. Okay, ally cards. Let's see. Any ideas for what the gnome could do? Let's see. We got fire, maybe more shielding. Little gnome. He actually looks pretty good when he's like in context of everything else. Let's see. I don't know what abilities to give this guy. It is a mystery. All right, tell you what, I'm going to take a quick break again. Coffee is going right through me like usual. But if you guys want to put your ideas for what the gnome's abilities could be, I'm thinking we'll give the gnome probably 2 abilities. So we need to come up with something. What I'm thinking, at least for now, is something related to armor, perhaps. Where is that? shield. So we don't have a whole lot of armor applying items, so I'm thinking the gnome could do something armor related, but I kind of want to make it interesting in some way. Or he could just have a plain armor application ability and then some other interesting ability. But yeah, go ahead and put your ideas into the chat, and then when I come back, we'll implement that. So I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I like this whimsical guy. Gnome should work well with other mushrooms. Yeah, I was kind of thinking like maybe it could deal, because like I don't want to target other items specifically, but you know, like maybe the gnome can apply shield based on the adjacent poison abilities. Oh, that's something that I want to work out too. When something scales off of fire ability, it needs to scale off of every ability that integrates fire, not just abilities that directly apply fire. For example, reagents that preserve abilities of type. That's going to be an interesting one. That's a little bit technically tricky. And I don't know if it's worth explaining, but basically, like, there are some abilities, like, so the idea is that if you have a reagent that says all poison abilities will be preserved or all fire abilities will be preserved, what I want that to do is that any ability that has the fire keyword in its description will count as a fire ability. Because right now, that's not the way it works. The only abilities that count as fire abilities are the abilities that actually directly apply fire. And there's a good reason for that. So like, for example, the lantern applies shield or armor based on the number of times that fire was applied. But the trick with that ability is that that's listening for applications of fire. It's not strictly a fire ability itself. So the underlying composition of that lantern ability does not actually do any fire at all, right? It's listening for fire. And so the problem is when I go into the ability tree and I want to see what are the fire abilities, what it's doing right now is it's looking through the ability tree and it's finding at least one instance of where fire is applied, and it's counting that as a fire ability. But what that does is that does not consider the abilities that scale off of fire abilities like the lantern, right? So that's a little bit of a tricky technical problem. Because if I look at the lantern here, shield on fire applied. So what this is doing is this is tracking abilities of type fire. So this is like this fire is actually inside of this ability type tracker provider and it's a type. So I would need some way of like knowing, like this is an internal detail to the ability type tracker provider. It's not, there's no actual fire ability in here anywhere. And so that's just kind of why it's a little bit technically tricky, but I can understand how it's confusing to players because, you know, if I see a fire keyword in the description, I expect that to be considered a fire ability, right? So anyway, that's a tangent, but that's why I wanted to write that thing down. Anyway, back to the gnome. Blind because of the spores. Blind could work. Gnome ability, nothing. Can't shift enter to live chat, yeah. Minion plus reagent because of the mushrooms. Gnomes and folklore protected precious treasures, so maybe armor for X amount of relics. I think I already have that though. Let me see. As I add more items to the game, I have to keep track. So apply 2, oh, this is 2 armor per allied item. So we could do armor per relic. Let's do ally cards. Or per relics. Yeah, we already, we don't have armor per relic. Okay. So yeah, maybe armor per relic works. Innate, when alchemized physical damage becomes armor and armor becomes physical damage. Second ability is gain 10 armor. That's an interesting idea. So making an item a reagent itself, that can also be... yeah, that's kind of an interesting idea. Making items that have both a combat use and an alchemy use. We could use be a weapon if you throw him at somebody with his pointy hat. That's true. Armor per artifact. Oh, per artifact. That is an interesting idea. That's an ability that I don't have in the game either. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. I have no idea how to do that. So we're going to need some kind of like artifact provider. So we do have artifact context here, artifacts. Maybe this is actually going to be easier than I thought. So let's do this. Let's create a new ability. And here we're going to do artifact provider. Actually, let's just make it. Yeah, let's just do this. That's fine. I'm going to copy this, paste this here. Make it an I ability value provider. Private list base artifact. Return empty result, get value, return artifacts.count. Okay, so now we go to the gnome. We shield per artifact. Okay. Var artifact provider is equal to new artifact provider. Oh, did I not rename that? Oh, I did. There we go. Put the artifact provider there. Value scalar is equal to new value scalar artifact provider. Let's do this. Const int shield per artifact equals 3. Var current shield per artifact is equal to new value scalar. No. Shield per artifact. Okay. Value scalar dot set multiplier current shield per artifact. Var dynamic shield is equal to new dynamic magnitude ability. Value scalar new shield 0. And we put the dynamic shield in here. Var scalar is equal to ability scalars dot get shield scalar. Current shield per artifact is equal to scalar shield per artifact tier. Okay, and then value scalar set multiplier current shield per artifact. Apply current shield per artifact armor per okay. Let's go ahead and test that one real quick. I expect my royalties check. It was meant for more of its abilities change on every alchemy. Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea for sure. There's our little gnome. So let's just add item amulet. Nope. Add artifact amulet. So I've got 2 artifacts, and I don't have any way of testing this. Son of a biscuit. I'm sure this is asked a lot, but what does putting 4 curly brackets do in a string? So when you're doing a template string in C#, the way that you get a literal curly brace is you have to escape it with another curly brace. And the way that I'm highlighting keywords in my game is that I'm looking for strings that contain, that are surrounded by 2 pairs of curly braces. So in other words, what this string is doing here is this is outputting a literal 2 pairs of curly braces. So it's escaping each pair. So this will actually end up producing a string that looks like this. So this produces that. And that needs to be there because that's what my regular expression looks for when I'm deciding which words need to be replaced with highlighted keywords. So it's just an implementation detail to my project. But yeah, that's how you create literal curly braces when you're doing a string template in C#, is you just escape it with another curly brace. How long have you been making pixel art? A couple years now. I started really seriously trying to learn pixel art when I was working on my last game, Gunforged, and I've been continuing to learn through the process of Alchemortis. I mean, people who have been here from the beginning know that I've reworked a lot of my art a bunch of times, like even like this cauldron here was redone relatively recently, actually. So yeah, it's been a couple of years, but I'm still learning. I'm still getting better at it. But probably, I mean, we're probably approaching like 3-ish years, 3.5 years of me really trying to learn pixel art. You can go back in my channel, like my channel's kind of like a historical repository of everything that I've done. If you go back to like the very early Gunforged devlogs, you could see like what my pixel art looked like at that point in time versus now. So it's, yeah. All right, let's see if this works. The gnome is so cute. I love him. That works. Okay. It's applying 6 armor. And I have 2 artifacts, so that's good. Oh, by the way, Ninja Link, I was, the reason why I have all of these training dummies set up is I was fixing the bug that you brought up where the VFX for, like, the cooldown reset, like, of the bell was not tracking to each affected item. So I was able to reproduce that, and I did fix it. So that's why I have so many training dummies here, is because I was running with the bell with Echo, max tier. Anyway, that's fixed now. Okay, cool. How long did it take you to develop the game? How much longer do you estimate it needs? So I've been working on this game since March of last year, so we're at 13 months of development now. And this game will be releasing before the end of the year. So I originally wanted to release it by this summer, but that is not going to happen. And the reason is because every time I run a playtest, there are still issues that need to be resolved. And I've had to do a bunch of iteration to get the game systems in a good spot. So, yeah, so we're looking towards end of year for the release of the game. Not like December, but hopefully before that, like November or October. So that should give me a good amount of time, like, to get all the game systems finished, to pump out the content, to add controller support, to, you know, really make it feel good, to add the Ascension system, to borrow the term from Slay the Spire. That's a funny quirk with C#, thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. The cauldron looks really good, really draws the eye to it. Thank you, I appreciate that. WBJ Pen. Found your channel through the video of making pixel squid, I think. I'm jealous of how easily it seemed to come to you. Yeah, I mean, it's just experience. I mean, it's just, you know, consistent effort, basically. Could use the at in front of a string for string literal, so you need to use two braces that way. But I guess I don't know how to do the actual string templating with the at symbol, because I do want to put like the current shield per artifact there. So this should become 3, right? Ascension is an old NetHack roguelike term. Oh, I did not know that. Okay. I'm not very familiar with like the classic roguelikes. Okay. Let's think of another ability for the gnome here. Any other ideas for the gnome? Do we have any items which are shield and damage? Let's take a gander. Oops. Ally, damage, and... Oh, I think this is an or filter instead of an and filter. That doesn't help. We don't have anything that's shield and damage, so what I may do is... maybe I'll just give him a basic damage ability. I think I will buff the damage numbers across the game because physical damage still feels a little bit weak to me. But admittedly, I haven't really tested physical builds with the new bleed rework, so yeah. Anyway. You never try to beat NetHack? That's a lifetime achievement of some irrelevant merit. I've never even heard of NetHack. I'm sorry to say. I'm not very cultured. I think you guys would be shocked at like my video game taste. I haven't played like any of the classic games. The games that I've played the most are Call of Duty, League of Legends, DayZ, Arc Raiders. Yeah. I like competitive multiplayer games where I can ruin someone's day by destroying their character. Anyway. I'm that way too. I keep telling myself I need to buy more indie games and I play them so I could experience different systems and get an idea. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are actually relatively few indie games that actually grab my attention, which is kind of ironic because I'm making an indie game that's kind of in the vein of games that I wouldn't play. So it's like, it's kind of weird, but Dota 2 for the win. I don't want to spend $15 on this. Yeah. I will say that I did play a lot of Balatro. I did play a lot of the first Slay the Spire. I was never able to get into games like Enter the Gungeon or Binding of Isaac, though, for some reason. I played a lot of Stardew Valley, though. Stardew Valley was fun. What else? I mean, I could just bring up my Steam library and see what I've got going on here. All games, sort by hours played. Oh, Path of Exile. I've played a lot of Path of Exile. Baldur's Gate 3. I put a lot of hours into that game. Elden Ring. PUBG. Skyrim, of course. Valheim. V Rising is a good one. I put a lot of time into V Rising. No Rest for the Wicked. Dungeonborn. That game shut down, but that was really fun. Sekiro. Yeah, I played a lot of Sekiro too. Anyway. How do you have the custom settings and project settings? You can add your own custom settings if you go to project settings. You can just add parameters here. So, like for example, game, this is the overall heading. So you can see game here. Debug, that's the sub category. And then you can further subcategorize it. Like I could do game debug test and then like hello stream. And then what you can do is you can determine what feature flag it appears on. I just keep it at all. And then you could determine what the type is. So if I wanted it to be an int, I could do that and then click add. And so that creates a subsection here. So this is game debug test hello stream. So game debug test hello stream. You could put that there, and then through the project settings singleton, you can read any project setting given a project setting path. And that's it, and then you can just delete them if you don't want them. Super handy. Worth a bit of research. It's the original roguelike originally developed by hippies in Berkeley in the 70s, still developed to this day. Oh, interesting. I was a big PvP player back in the day, but I pretty much only play PvE games nowadays. I still like my PvP games. I'm not as hardcore as I was. The consequence of aging, I guess, but you know what kind of games that I didn't like? I absolutely hated turn-based games when I was younger, but when I got into my late 20s, I started to appreciate them more, and then Baldur's Gate became like my favorite game of all time, basically. And that's just like obviously that's a turn-based game. It's kind of weird how your tastes change over time. Play ARPGs, MOBAs, yeah. Thought of spending money on a single-player indie game is just so mad. Yeah, I'll spend $20 on a League of Legends skin, but $15 on a critically acclaimed indie game, no thanks. Balatro is great. That dev story is amazing. Yeah, Balatro is good. Yeah, Balatro is really good. We have similar tastes, yeah. Which is good, because, like, if I'm not mistaken, you enjoyed the playtest, or you enjoy Alchemortis quite a bit, Malicious Rabbit, so it's like, it's kind of weird that we have the same taste usually, but then, like, I'm making this game that I wouldn't usually play, and you're playing this game that you wouldn't usually play, so I think that's, I don't know, it's a little bit interesting. It's a little bit interesting. Any classic games? No, I didn't play any classic games. I've never, I mean, I won't say I've never played an N64 game. I'm sure I've done it at, like, a friend's house or something, but I've never played the Zeldas. I've never played... I did have a GameCube when I was a kid, but we didn't have, like, any of the Nintendo games for it. Like, we had our random, like, third-party games. It was kind of weird. Nice trick. I didn't know that. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. Last Epoch. Yeah, I played a lot of Last Epoch too. That's fun. Play stuff like Deadlock, Dota 2, MMOs, occasional single player game like Elden Ring. Yeah. Mugenics is one that I've been curious to try. Terraria is fun. I put a lot of time in Terraria too. BG3 is an amazing experience. Yeah. I own both the N64 and the GameCube. Yeah. We were a PlayStation household. The first console that I remember playing was PlayStation 1 and playing like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro on those when I was like, what, 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that. And then the PS2 came out. Can't remember. What was the game I played the most on PS2? I had a game called Champions of Norath, which was an ARPG, which was really, really fun. I love that game. What else? Why can't I remember the PS2 games I played a bunch of? Medal of Honor. I remember playing a lot of Medal of Honor on the PS2. I can't remember. I remember the PS1 games I played more than the PS2 games. Yeah, BG3 is a... If you play one game ever, BG3 is like a good contender for like what you should choose. PI, mouse PI for hire. Oh, very nice. Yeah. Big indie AA hits. My family didn't really do much with the computer, so I own pretty much every console through the Xbox 360. Nice, yeah. Elemental Combats of Divinity 2. Yeah, Divinity 2 was a lot of fun, too. Age of Empires 2. Anyway, I think the gnome is good. But yeah, I think it is lunchtime for me. I'm getting to that point of being hungry where I'm getting just like can't think about anything else, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go get some lunch. It might be a McDonald's kind of day. Who knows? Who knows? But thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. It's always fun hanging out with you guys. And you still have a couple of days to try out the playtest if you haven't yet. So if Alchemortis looks interesting to you, head on over to the Steam page, click the request access button. That will get added to your library immediately. I will be ending the playtest on Monday morning, probably before the Monday morning stream. So, yeah, get your playtests in, get your final feedback into the Discord. I appreciate all of your feedback and your bug requests. I've been logging everything, and I've been trying to fix the bugs as they come up as well, so I can stay on top of them. And yeah, you can also support on Patreon if you like what you see. I'm doing this entirely self-funded, so every little bit helps. But of course, just wishlisting the game is a huge help. Liking the video, subscribing to the channel, following on Twitch, all that stuff is super helpful as well. I had McDonald's for lunch in your honor. But I don't play games, but I want to make games. Yeah, I think that's pretty common. Give it another go before Monday. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So have a good day, everybody. And I will see you. Probably will not be streaming tomorrow. So I'll see you back here on Monday. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.